And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I am your host, Coach Donnie Hess here, back with another AFL round review. Why, oh, why does the season go so fast? Come on, 12 games is not enough. You're going to hear it every episode for the rest of the season because I love my footy. I love my women's footy. And we're already 8 rounds through this season of a 12 rounds. Only 4 more games to play before we get to that lovely time that is finals women's footy. And joining me today as my co-host, somebody I haven't talked with in a while. I've probably had nearly about half an hour worth of banter with her, and it's so great to sit down and have a chat with her. One of the members of the Chicks Talking Footy. As you guys can tell, the Chicks Talking Footy show is a very good friend to me, and I love having the ladies on. We have Sasha. Sasha, it is great to see you again, and great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Coach Johnny. Very, very privileged to be back. I am, it's been too long. Been too long between football rounds.
Yes, definitely for sure. But you want to know what? I absolutely enjoy it. I'm so glad to have you on. I had Fee help me with round 24. I had back on as a Adelaide Crows supporter, and I'm crossing my fingers. I may have another member of the show, May. I'm crossing my fingers that she can do
Ooh,
it.
all
I may
right.
have another member on the show later on in the year for this year's supporter series. We will hope. No pressure at all, but
You need
it'll
a
be fun.
Chicks Talking Footy bingo card, Donny.
I know,
Yes.
right? I know. I think I'm really down to food, and I forgot. I did have Breeza on. I did have Breeza on
Oh,
for a review as well. So I've had most of the show. So it's been
that's very cool.
fantastic. So let's get right into it, Sasha. Round 8 has come. It has gone another fantastic round of footy. A shocker upon shockers in this round. Some classic games of football between some of these
Yes, there
teams.
was.
So your thoughts on this round 8 of the AFLW?
Well, my thoughts are holy moly. Adelaide Crows. What the? Um, as we were saying off air earlier, it was just astounding. So that was probably the biggest, not only upset of the round, but I think the season thus far, right? And then from another perspective, I was also really impressed with Carlton.
Mm.
They blitzed Geelong, which, they had a tough run. So yeah, I just think it's a weird one. There's a few upsets. You look at, West Coast beating Collingwood. It's been an interesting round, Donny.
Yeah, it's definitely some of the results I've loved it. There weren't a lot of blowouts. I know there's some people that go, Coach, there were a couple blowouts. I know, trust me, one of them was one
Mm.
I had to sit through, if I'm being
Mm-hmm.
100% honest with you. But it was an interesting round. There's a lot of great competitive footy. Like I said, the shocker that we'll really go through at Icon Park
Yeah.
between Richmond and Adelaide because I that was the Saturday night game for me and it was a Sunday afternoon game and that was I was literally watching that game and could not believe what I like. I turned away and I pinched myself because I was like, this has got to be a dream. Like
No,
is
I
this
get it.
is
I
this
was the same.
seriously happening right now? A winless Richmond Tigers team gets their first win of the season against the
Yeah.
perennial top four side that is Adelaide. We'll save that for when the game comes
All
up
right,
and
we'll
talk
save
about it
it.
because it really was mind blowing to see that result happen in front of my eyes. So let's jump down to it. Kinetic Stadium, the gorgeous Kinetic Stadium, and down in
Mm-hmm.
Frankston as the Hawthorn Hawks get a win by 15, 33-18. No Emily Bates,
Yes.
no problem. Hawthorn get another W.
Look, they're on fire. They seem to, after, well, what are we up to, round 8? The way that the first few, bit tough, but they seem to have just clicked. And you could really tell with at ease, if you can play with key players missing and you still play just as good, if not better, then you're doing something that needs to continue and you're doing it right.
Mhm.
Because that's something that, even as a coach, you naturally worry when you miss certain key players. But
Yep.
when your team's got it, they're like, no, 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 coach, we got this. We don't, it's good. People float in, float out, and you've still got that. Then, wow. I mean, I think they're just going to continue. I think they'll end up in finals, hopefully for them, because they've just been progressing really, really well.
Mhm. Yep. No, I'm 100% with you. The thing that I love is that The list build has been fantastic. They kind of slowly built into it. The additions of Liza
Mm,
West has been fantastic for them. Jazz Fleming has looked every bit of why she was a top level pick. But I think the biggest thing is that despite the loss of Emily Bates, the return of Aileen Gilroy really helped
yes.
this team because
Yeah.
she has relieved some of the pressure on on Anya McDonough because Anya McDonough for the longest time was struggling while Aileen Gilroy was out because they didn't have that other piece in the forward line. Greta Bodie's fantastic, but Greta Bodie sometimes floats in, floats out. Like I
Different
love her to
role.
death, but she
Yeah,
does, yeah,
absolutely.
exactly. Where Eileen Gilroy is that she's that spark plug connector between the midfield and that full forward line. So her return kind of eased Greta Bodie's eased Emily Bates's loss. I
Mm,
think it's fantastic for him because it helps increase the depth of this group. I'm loving the Hawks. I'm the Fremantle Dockers. I feel for them. I want to give them a hug because they've just had to deal with so much because you have to deal with Brisbane, you have to deal with North, you have to deal with Hawthorn, you had to deal with Sydney at the time,
yeah,
who
that,
was really
yes.
really well. Them and Geelong are two teams I feel really bad for because this 12 game schedule really is going to hurt them. I don't think both of those teams will make finals. And I don't think it's because they're not finals level teams. I actually think they are. It's the problem is they have too many opponents that are better than them that they're not going to be able to make finals because they aren't going to get those games against the lower level teams,
Mm,
the GWSs, the Gold Coast, sorry, Sasha,
yeah. No, 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 don't be, don't
of the
be.
competition that you would
Yeah.
expect them to beat when you have Turbo, Ange Stannett, Haley Miller, Mimstrom, who's one of the best rucks in the entire competition. This is
Hmm.
a very good Dockers team. They just went up against a team that was just a little bit better on the day in Hawthorn. So
Yeah,
I
I
want to
agree.
hug Dockers fans. I really
I
do
know.
because this is one of those they probably should make finals and they won't on
Well,
luck of the
if
draw.
they had 24 rounds, they probably would.
uh, or at least 18.
I think, yeah, if they played every team, yeah,
Yep,
like you said earlier,
yep,
absolutely.
yep,
I think you get in momentum and, it's really hard to get that in 12
yep, yep,
games, especially if you do suffer losses throughout the first few games. It's
mhm,
really hard. And I
yep.
think, that's a real disadvantage, as we know. But yeah, I do feel for them because you're right. They're a class team and they're just not being given that opportunity because of who they're up against in those you know, first rounds. So
Yeah, and their percentage took a little bit of a hit with those couple of big losses to
it
Brisbane and
does not
North
help.
early,
No.
and that doesn't help either. So it puts them
No.
behind the eight ball. So even if they were to win, they're always
Oh,
playing catch
it's a
up.
tough one. And it's hard to go in knowing that you're probably not going to get in finals as well.
Yeah, yep.
That's another way, like it's mentally draining to
Hmm.
do that.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother aspect of it.
Yep, definitely for sure. Let's head over. We have next up on the docket Icon Park in Melbourne as we see the Melbourne Demons get a win over the Essendon Bombers 36-22. I know the Bombers have struggled this year. They've fought
Mm,
after a great start, they've kind of struggled. Injuries have kind of reared their ugly head in some of the worst possible situations. Some young players that they really couldn't afford to. I know Bonnie Too Good has missed some time this year. It's great to see her back on the
yes.
park.
Yeah, true.
I was happy with them. This was a competitive game. I worried a little bit going into this game. This
Mm,
could be a 6, 7, 8, 9 goal margin. This could get ugly quickly the way Melbourne
yeah.
was playing earlier in the year. They get a 14-point win, 36-22. Again, Melbourne again, very good. Love this team to death. They're so much fun to watch. They have started that rebuild, that rebrand of the
Mm,
youngsters
hmm.
after so many years of the experience. But it's still great to see Paxi Paxman running out there. Taylor Harris still running out there.
Yeah, gosh, yes.
So many of these veteran players that have been around for a while. Love seeing them play, but seeing some of these youngsters, Kate Hoare has been fantastic. I still say I think she's gonna lean heavily in this year's Best and Fairest. Cannot wait to
I
see
was
that
about to
count.
say, if that's where you
Yeah.
were going, I agree with you. Yeah.
Her and Ella Roberts right now are two of my favorites to be up there at the top of the vote count come the end
Hmm.
of the year because they've both been absolutely incredible. Taylor Hanks has been fantastic as well through the center. They looked good. Love seeing their youngsters. I know Layla Ebert and Molly O'Hare have both played significant minutes as youngsters that have just come into the squad. They're really starting to roll through some of the young talent that they've had to draft after the club finally had themselves picked over a little bit over the last couple of off
Yeah.
seasons with Liza West, Maddie Gay, and some of them shifting off to other places, and Alicia Pisano and some of the draft picks have come in. So I'm liking what Melbourne's doing. Are they up to, shall we say, a North level? I don't think so. But right now, they're one of the few teams I said that could have enough to be competitive against the Roos coming forward. They get the win. Was it as impressive as I was expecting? No.
Mm. Yeah, look, I think you wouldn't even know that from my perspective, I wouldn't even know that they've lost a lot of those key
Hmm.
players with loads of experience because you've still got those three key players, in my opinion. You got Harris, Paxi, Kate Hoare is absolute critical to not only forward line but also to play up high,
Hmm.
um, and it makes a huge difference. They've also, I'm assuming, like those players would be mentoring like mad. I would think the
Hmm.
young players that are coming through, and the culture there seems to be working. They've obviously got a dynamic that seems to be filtering through now. You can see that, yeah, they had a few rough seasons and injuries, and um, they're not at the North level, but I don't think there's many teams that are at the moment. Um, but when you look at where they could go, and I think especially next season, they will be in that top four for
Yep.
sure.
Yep. Definitely for sure. Definitely for sure. So, like I said, I'm hoping Paxi doesn't leave us anytime soon because
I really don't
she's
think,
still
nah,
incredible to watch
absolute
for her.
athlete. So
We'll say it this way, for her maturity level when it comes to her years in football. I'm never gonna say age because I look at it and I
no,
go,
no,
I'm older than most of them, so me calling them old is really weird.
no,
But
no. I think, yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
her maturity and her years in it, I don't want to lose that. It's
No,
a
we
little bit
really
selfish.
can't.
It's a little bit selfish, but because I understand the game does get on the body. So I
Mm,
know, trust me. So I don't want her to go, but when she does, it's gonna be a sad day because she's such an incredible footballer and absolutely love Paxi so much to death. So
yeah, me
don't want to
too, me
lose her, but
too.
I know the times are getting closer, unfortunately. But
Look, I
Paxi,
think,
keep going, girl.
yeah,
Keep
please
going, keep
do.
going. So
Definitely. We can't lose Paxi yet.
yeah, definitely for sure. They're too good. We cannot lose them. Cannot lose them at all. So let's hop up Henson Park up in Sydney as St. Kilda get another win by 14, 30 to 16. This Giants team is, how to say this? They're annoying because as soon as I got them
Yeah,
figured out, they pulled this. Like they had that little run. They win a couple of games. I knew the West Coast game last week was going to be a little bit of a struggle. You play two really good
yeah,
games. You're coming off an emotional win in the Sydney Derby. Now you got to make the long journey out to Perth. West Coast, they were angry because they lost the game in Victoria that they probably shouldn't have. They probably should have won that game. And I
yes.
mean, GWS ran into a buzzsaw that is West Coast. I love the way the Eagles are playing. But this one, I was expecting a little bit more of a kickback. That I was expecting more of an answer. And I'm not saying St. Kilda isn't a great team, but I thought GWS would be a little bit more competitive in this game. And St. Kilda just, they did what they needed to do. They got the 14-point win, 30 to
Mm.
16. But again, this Giants team is frustratingly inconsistent.
Yeah, it's weird. I think it's a weird season for them
I agree.
because you have had such a great run, especially when they first came out, right? And now
Hmm.
there's this season where it's you're not really sure where they're going to sit, and then you do have them like playing, you know, at home, right? So you think this is in the bag. St Kilda, they're not terrible, but they're not great either. I think
Hmm.
probably if you were like to percentage them, I'd say in my mind, I would have put GWS at 60 and maybe St Kilda at 40.
Hmm.
And then here we are. But again, like I said at the beginning, it's an upsetting round
Yeah.
in tips as well. I think a lot of people are kind of a bit funny with their tips, but
Well, I'll pat myself on the back. I was 8 for 9, and the only one I missed was the obvious one. Yeah.
How dare you?
Yep. Yep. I was eight for the Adelaide Richmond one was the only one I missed.
Yeah, wow.
All
Well,
the
that's
others I got.
impressive.
Oh,
I mean, I shouldn't be questioning. I should be saying that's normal for you, Donny, right?
it's I've I tend to my tips tend to be a little bit better in the women's than the men's. The men's sometimes
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
take flyers sometimes, but I've been one of those that this league sometimes can be one of those where it is easy to read, even upsets. I've tipped a few upsets this year and been right. Just the way it's kind of going because sometimes it's a feeling. It's not even about the matchup. It's kind of about the feelings of what's going on outside, like where the game is, how the previous game is gone. This one didn't surprise me because again, you have the
Mm.
travel from Perth back to Sydney. You just have St. Kilda coming up from Victoria, so it's a little bit of wear and tear there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
GWS is also still fighting the fact that they're still without Elise Parker and Alicia Eva. That's a couple of experienced players. I'm loving Caitlin Surhoy. I think she's been playing fantastic
Good
for the
addition, yeah.
Giants. Yeah, she's been great.
Mm.
The Howley, the number 4 pick this year.
Yeah.
She's looked really good. Seeing Emily Pease down back playing well. Catherine Smith down back. I think they've had some really good performances. Zarly
Mm.
Goldsworthy again is incredible. If she was in Victoria, she'd be spoken about as one of the best players in the
Well, this is
competition.
it, yeah, and this is where it's
And
that
but
big divide of states, right?
oh yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. Being a New South being up in New South Wales, I don't think she gets the coverage that she really deserves. I love Zarly to
mm.
death. I don't want to irk off Giants fans, but if she were to cross over to the red and white, I would definitely not complain. But that is me personally. I think Zarly's very happy at GWS. I think she plays incredible. So I just want the players to be happy and to be where they think that they will have some
Mm.
success. I'm sitting here talking up a word salad because I don't want to go to the next one, but we will. Down to UTAS Stadium down in Launceston
Um,
as the kangaroo train just rolls along,
wowee.
claiming another
I
victory by
know, Donny. What
68,
a
88
now
to 20. Now,
this
as
game.
go ahead.
It's just
As the Swans tragic that I am, the first quarter was fantastic. It was back and
yeah.
forth. The Swans had a couple of really great plays, and I think you could kind of tell North went, uh-oh, they're not rolling over. But then that second half of the second quarter, and then the
Mm.
whole entire second half, North went, not today, Swans.
No,
Not
they
today.
really did not let them play, did they? They
No.
really contained the game. It was just, uh, yeah. And like, as a, my team, right? I had a very similar outcome this round.
Hmm.
So I know it's a hurtful time, but you got to take positives. That, like you said, the first quarter, they show really good signs. It's just that level. Like, again, Sydney have some great players and they've
Yep.
got some really key players, as we know.
Yep.
Um, you know, but again, North Melbourne have just got an entire army
Hmm.
that works so well together, and it's
Yep.
just makes you feel so
I mean, Jazz Garner kicking four, including one that literally it right turned on a
impossible,
90-degree
impossible.
angle and goes dead center. I'm like, you can't win a game as a Swans team when those bounces happen to you. Like, I remember when it went through, Kelly
Mm,
Underwood was calling the game, and
hmm.
I give Kelly so much that she continues to go on it. And I want let me rant just really, really quickly on this.
Yeah, please.
I am not getting after Kelly because she is a female caller. I am getting after Kelly because as a person that has called for
Hmm.
years,
Hmm. Hmm.
the glaring errors of misnaming people is a little frustrating.
Yeah, of
I went
course it
back and forth with a
is.
friend, like, and especially when some of them are glaringly bad. Like, there was one point she called, I don't even remember who it was, but she called somebody Lulu Puller. And Lulu Puller and this particular player look nothing alike. Lulu Puller
Mm,
has blonde hair. This particular player, I think it was, who was it? I was trying to think off right at the top of I can't remember. But I literally sat there and I face palmed myself after she said,
mm,
I'm like, I'm like, come on, Kelly, come on. I know you're
It's a
going.
tough, yeah.
I know you're calling. I know you're looking through binoculars, but
Mm.
come on. Like this was
Well,
nowhere
it's
close to the
interesting. I'd
point.
love to know. So, was she there or was she watching the vision from the studio? This is the
Yep.
thing that is really difficult at times, right?
Yep. But the thing that I
And
also say with some of the vision that I've seen of studio calls is it's basically the TV screen. And
yeah,
I'm
it's
now
like you and I
now
watching it,
again,
right?
I'm nuts. Like I know all the players, the numbers, what they look
Mm,
like,
mm.
how they like to keep their hair, what their boot colors are.
Yeah,
Like for me,
which is
the
all
only
key stuff.
like
Yes.
the only thing that threw me off was when Zippy Fish decided to blonde dye her hair blonde, and it threw me off because her and Laura Gardner are very much the same
Yeah, very
height,
similar.
the same build. So there was three times in that particular game that I went, good job, Laura. No, Zippy. And
Mm.
like I had to catch myself a couple of times, but I'm like, that's the only thing that got on me a little bit was the egregious misses. And like
Yeah,
and I
no,
get it.
completely.
And again, I'm not sitting here lambasting the woman because she's doing the best job that she possibly can, but
No, no, I don't see it as that at all. I think you're just
yeah.
pointing out that there's, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So that's the only thing on that. And just huge shout out to Zippy Fish 34 in this game. She looked fantastic again.
I love the name, man.
So
It's the best.
so Zipperiah Zippy Fish, and I've been watching her since she was 17 out the
So
Waffle
cool.
W. I've said it a few times when I've talked to people. Like I remember on draft night when
Hmm.
she slipped to Sydney. I remember telling all my Swans fans because they know I keep track of the Waffle W. They're like, Donnie, what are we getting? And I went
An
legitimately. We
absolute
probably we
legend.
probably just got the second or third best girl in the entire draft class
Yeah.
because GWS decided Sarah Howley that Howley was a little bit more key than Zippy,
Hmm.
and that's fine. I have no problem. And each team is different. But I said that was there were two players that I wanted, and she was one of them.
Yeah.
I could not have been happier. I think she fits Sydney perfectly with her. She's cool, like literally, she doesn't look like she sweats. Like I want to ask her what she's made of. Like, do you have ice cubes
Youth.
running
I
in your
think the word's
blood?
youth.
Well, and she's only been playing footy for like 4 years. Like
Yeah. Oh
she
my
get up at
God. It's
15
madness. Isn't it wild
and
that that's
and
the quality?
yeah. Oh, yeah. She's absolutely incredible. Cannot wait to see her grow. Like, this year's Rising Star is going to be an interesting vote because there are some absolute rippers. I mean, Havana Harris for you up at Gold Coast, she's actually looked
Hmm.
really, despite the lack of football because of what Gold Coast has had
Mm,
to deal with, she's been fantastic. Ash Centra,
mm.
I mean, yeah, having her own balance and she's growing into the sea. And Lucia Painter out at West Coast, I think, has been
Yeah.
fantastic. Zippy Fish there. You've got so many great youngsters this year. I mean, when you've got Gemma Bastiani saying this is a super draft, and
Yeah.
we're
And
8 rounds into the season, like that's how incredible some of
I
these
think it's
youngsters
it's
are.
because they've played since they were,
Exactly.
this high and they haven't had to stop.
Yep. And
That's the key. And that is what we want.
yep.
That
And
is
I've
what we've been waiting for.
Yep. And I've been saying it for 2 or 3 years. I said
Mm,
this competition is growing. It is getting better. There has to be some patience because the best of the best are still in
they're still
the
there.
the under 14s, the under 13s, the under 12s. Some of
Yeah.
the best players you're going to get, they're coming. You just
Mm,
gotta kind of you gotta have to let this thing marinate a little bit. But when it comes, it's going to
absolutely.
be chef's kiss for
Oh,
sure. So let's pull
yeah.
your band-aid off. I've done
All right.
mine. Let's pull your
Okay.
band-aid
All right.
off
All
as the
right. All right.
Q clash, the women's side of the
Mm,
Q clash happen as the Brisbane Lions get a 68-point win,
mm,
83 to 15. I will say this. The Lions are
mm-hmm.
good. The
They are good.
Suns, they did everything they possibly could. They've dealt with so many injuries. I know that Charlie
No, I
Rowbottom has
know.
battled this year. Again, I love Rowie to death. She's fantastic. Seeing Neve McLaughlin, an Irish woman who I think has been incredible for the Gold Coast Suns.
Yes.
Havana
Yes.
Harris has been a bright spot. Like I said, you fought through some things, but she shown why she was a top level player
Mm,
in her particular draft pick. But when you go up against Allie Anderson, Orla O'Dwyer getting her 75th. Congratulations to Orla on
mm.
75 games as
I
an
know.
Irish woman is incredible. Sophie Cunningham
That's
is
awesome.
is the other winger that's absolutely deadly. You've got Dax up forward, Jade Ellinger off the halfback. I mean, there is star after star after star in this Brisbane Lions team. You're gonna deal
Mm.
with a headache, but I mean, Gold Coast, they gave it a crack. This is just such a good Lions team.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, I think the key thing is like we're fielding a stack of teenage, like,
Yep.
teenage players, which yes, and they're building that like legend sort of status that Brisbane has. Um, Against experienced sides. I think, yeah, we've got those key drafts, which is amazing. But then you've got other players that are learning and they're from the
Hmm.
academy or, this, that, and the other. But yeah, you're against people that have played 75 games. I think it's disappointing to lose, but it's also you can't be too disappointed either because
Hmm.
it's such a different level. It's like if in community level it would be like div 1 versus div 3 or something like
Yep.
it's just that level which is amalgamated at the moment
Hmm.
and is coming, as you said, and it will change, but at the moment, I think they're just looking down the line and have like, look, Reece Shaw coming in as a coach is awesome.
Hmm.
The guy is so experienced and he's
Yep.
he's such a he's not only with men but also with women, and he's been around the Gold Coast for a long time. So I think watch this space.
Agree.
As disappointing as it is to watch your team lose quite often, and I have with the Suns for years with the men's,
Hmm.
there is always light at the end of the tunnel. So
Well, eventually, all this elite level talent that that they are producing eventually, as we saw with the men this year, it will eventually the green shoots will
mm.
eventually flower and give us a beautiful rosebud. Okay, it's just you gotta give it some water, give it some sun, give it some TLC, and
Yeah, look, I think
eventually it
very
will happen.
similar. 2, 3 years we'll be in that competitive. I mean, I'd be lofty to think that we'd be there next year. I think we'll probably get some good picks again coming into the draft season, but
Yep,
it's a work in progress, and
yep,
that's okay because we do still have Charlie, we've got Havana,
yep.
and these are really good players, and I'm hoping they'll stick around because they can see that, especially with the men's, you can see with the Suns they built something,
Hmm.
and people that stick around and stick with the club, it works. You just have to have that faith. So,
Yep, no, 100% with you on that one. And like I said, the number one overall girl is a Gold Coast Academy girl.
well,
And
I look forward to this, and I love
as
the
I've
draft.
said on a
So,
few and I was telling Sasha Osher, I said my draft expert that I have on, who's been watching women's footy for years, has said that he believes Ava Usher, the number
mm,
one overall, is one of the best he's ever seen. So
that's
I think
awesome.
some good times are on the horizon very soon for the Gold Coast Suns for sure. So I want to head over to Adelaide Oval where we
All
saw
right, let's do it.
another rip roaring
We
comeback
did.
win. But Port Adelaide decided, instead of having it happen to them again, they decided to do it as they come back against the Doggies and get a 19-point win at Alberton Oval, 54-35. This is literally the proverbial meme of hold my beer, it's my time now for Port as they have a ripping comeback against the Duggies. But this was an enjoyable watch. This was a great game of football. You've got some absolute elite level players in this game. Ellie Blackburn, Riley Wilcox, Matilda Schultz, seeing the first time goal for Lauren Young. So
Oh,
happy
mate,
for her
it was
after
amazing.
having to deal with her ACL tear. You've got so many youngsters, Shanae Goody, Molly Brooksby on that Port Adelaide side. You've got the enigma that is Gemma Houghton, who's
Mm.
so much
Hmm.
fun to watch. And I gotta give a huge shout out, Indy Tahoe. You have been incredible for these last few rounds for Port Adelaide, having to kind of step up and be that forward. She's been playing fantastic football. I think she had four in this game as well. So Port Adelaide get the win. I'm loving the doggies fight. They're a scrappy side. They're so much like their captain in Ellie Blackburn. They never give up. They're just a bulldog, not only in nickname but also in
Mm.
behavior on this. They're a lot like Gold Coast. I see great things coming.
Yes,
They're gonna deal with a little bit of pain because they still are a relatively young side. That they're gonna have their headaches. They're gonna have games like this where things kind of get against them, and it sometimes can avalanche on them a little bit. And this is a port, so much talent. Once they got rolling, it was very difficult for the doggies to stop.
it was. And look, I think the important thing is it's sort of like what we were talking about earlier with the North Melbourne team, right? Where you said I think it was probably off air though, but you're saying, they're so good now, but they're going to lose a bunch of players at some point and they're going to have a
Hmm.
big void that they need to work on with new young players. Now, this is where Bulldogs are at the moment.
Hmm.
They've had a few rough seasons where they lost some really key players, whether to retirement, to moving to clubs or injury. You got your stalwarts like Blackburn who have stayed.
Hmm.
Great player. And there's a tiny little like backbone and they're building again. And I think, they needed that win the week before last because that was huge,
Hmm.
a huge win at home. And then to go and lose to Port, it is disappointing, but Port are very good and they're very good at home as well. And there's sort of, it all just played into Port's hands that game.
Hmm.
And I just think, yeah, the Bulldogs are there. You can see glimmers. And again, it'll be a team to watch in the next couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Christy Lee Weston Turner, Elaine Grigg, so many Brooke Barwick. I also there's so many young talents that I think once they mature, once they get 20, 30 games into them, you'll start to see why they were the way they were. So
Yeah, and you're
I'm
learning from the
100%
best,
with you. Oh yes, exactly. Like Ellie
you know.
Blackburn, you
She got
can't get
4 goals,
that.
didn't she, the week before? Like
Yep. Yep.
it's just great. But
Yeah.
yeah, you can't like unfortunately, as much as we all want to do it, you can't do it every week,
Yep.
um, depending on who you're playing. But
Yep.
yeah, anyway, Port, yeah, they cannot be faulted for that game. It
Yep.
was a bloody good match.
Yeah, and Port's running into a little bit, like I said, with what's running into with Geelong and with Fremantle is that a little bit more of a different,
Mm,
more difficult fixture this year, and
hmm.
their record precedes that a little bit, and they've been very inconsistent. They've also, like I said, as we said, Lauren Young hasn't been healthy. I know they
Yeah.
lost Cuthbertson with the ACL tear. They also lost Caitlin Wendland, who was a young midfielder who I thought was a great little helper into the midfield.
Yeah, yeah, and
She
you
hasn't
bank on
played at
that.
all this
Yeah.
year because of an ACL tear. They've been really inconsistent this year. Injury has hurt them. They've had to. I know Lauren Arnell has had to shift some magnets around that I probably didn't want to, but she had to for convenience. So
Yes.
I've felt kind of bad for Port a little bit because they've been under the pump since the start of the season, and
Yeah.
their record really kind of shows that. But again, the flashes and the show of the brilliance that is the talent of this Port Adelaide
Mm,
Football Club. Cannot wait to see them. They are going to be so much fun to watch because the talent just in this group from under 22s is
mm.
insane
Oh,
with what they did a couple
yes.
years ago when you bring Matilda Schultz, Lauren Young, Piper Window, Shanae Goody, and Molly Brooksby all in one draft year. Really in one draft year. It's insane what they did. That group, that's their core there that I think they're going to build on. They're going to be so much fun to watch. But speaking of fun, speaking of
Mm,
entertainment, we get to it. The game, as we said, I'm still processing this particular result as the Richmond Tigers, the 0-win Richmond Tigers, upset the Adelaide Crows by 11 at Icon Park, 58-47. Be honest with me, Sasha. When you saw that, did you see this? Because I sat there watching this and still could not believe what I was watching as this Tigers team, they played the best game they had the entire season. They were helped the Crows didn't have their best game either, but Richmond did what they needed to do, and finally they get their first win of the season.
they did. And I was watching, not too closely at the beginning, I'll have to admit, because I was doing some work and I had it on.
Hmm.
And as I was looking up at the score, I went, hold on a minute, what's this about? Like, all right, focus. And then you
Uh-huh.
start watching and you're like, this is a team that hasn't won a match, 0-7. Um, haven't won like this since sometime early last year, I think. Like
Hmm.
it's and a team like the Crows, who are notorious for comebacks.
Hmm.
It was pure class. Beth Lynch, defensive work outstanding.
Hmm.
Especially against Eloise Jones, who again, is such a key forward for the Crows.
Yep.
So, look, I just think it was not expected. As you said, you got 8 out of 9 for your tips. I think a
Hmm.
lot of people would have been in the same boat.
Yep. I noticed that too. That was the one almost everybody missed. I think only diehard Richmond supporters might have tipped that one for sure. Let's just be very, very honest. I sat in wonder because again, Noffy is Noffy. She gets the footy, she
Mm.
gets it out. Hatchie was a little bit down
Yeah,
in this particular
absolutely.
game. I'm not going to say that they're missing Caitlin Gould, but it seems like the loss of Caitlin Gould is affecting this group. They don't have that talisman full forward. They don't have like Eloise Jones is a small forward. You want her
Mm.
around the crumbs. You want her using her quickness and her ability to find the footy. You want to do that. Hatchie can go full forward, but I'm not sure if she's fully confident with her full forward craft. Like I think she's so much a midfielder. I'm not sure if it really fits her.
I think
So
it's a lot of responsibility for a midfielder to take that role.
exactly that too. Yep.
Um,
And I worry sometimes that when the footy gets close, she goes into midfield mode, so she goes hunting for the football,
mm,
which then leaves the fullback to sit back in the goal square to be kind of some protection. So then if you do have a short kick on goal, easy intercept mark in the goal
yeah,
square, right back out. Again, Katie Brennan, Mon Conti, Ellie McKenzie has shown why she was the number one overall the year she was. She is
3 goals. Yes.
incredibly good in this one. But this was the first game where the three-headed monster of Conti, Egan,
Hmm.
and Mackenzie showed us why when they signed Grace Egan from Carlton, I said this is just as good as midfield as a Nafi and a
Mm.
Hatchard because you have Grace Egan can take the defensive side, which then lets Mon Conti off the chain. She can go wherever she wants. And Ellie McKenzie is that big body midfielder that can get the ball, get it to Mon Conti on the run. And here we
Hmm.
go, especially when you've got a Katie Brennan in the goal square and a Caitlin Greiser who can rotate. It's a
Oh,
deadly
yeah.
combination. And you've got Amelia Yassir, who's a great small forward who I think has struggled this year. She hasn't had the success that she's had years before. This was a game she played much better. I love this Richmond Tigers team. I think the build is really good.
Mm.
Funny seeing Sarah Hosking go back and actually look really good on that halfback line. Like I was impressed
Yeah,
with
no,
how well she
interesting move.
because I remember watching it. I'm like, why is Hosco back? Like it was weird at first. Like I was like, am I seeing like did I get the way they're going crossed up? Because I'm so used to her being that small, like grunt
Mm.
forward, the tackle pressure forward that does that can kick the occasion, that kicks the goal here or there, can rotate on the wing or go through the center midfield just to give a midfielder a break. She's playing off the halfback line and looked fantastic doing it. Like, good job, Hosko.
All rounder.
It was great to see her. Great to see her have some success. I know she struggled fighting with injury this year,
Mm.
but I love this Tigers team. They're so much fun. They're so much fun to watch. But I'm kind of gutted for Adelaide because this is a stunner, and this really throws a huge wrench into their season.
A little, but I mean, I think it's a bit of a wake up call.
Hmm.
I think they've been so good for so long, and I don't know. I mean, I think they're a great unit of players, and I think they've had such success and they've had success together. But I think when you've got a team that is building like Richmond again, um, yeah, you can't be complacent, especially when you assume, oh, here's a team that hasn't won a game.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I don't want to put words or thoughts into people's mouths, but it's sort of maybe they went in being a little bit more relaxed than they probably should have. But you've also got, players like Sierra Greaves, she's a young teenager,
Yep.
and it was 13 disposals and a goal
Hmm.
against the Adelaide Crows. That confidence, you cannot buy that. That is something that will continue to build. And if she's doing that against the Crows, imagine what she does against other teams. So,
Hmm.
yeah, look, I think the Crows will definitely be reviewing that game footage quite severely this week.
Yep. 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 Yeah, I don't want to be their I don't want to be their opponent this, but I'm also going to say this, and this is not me. This is me just being honest with myself. The Crows are not the Crows of years before. Okay, well, I think there's some reverence because we see the three Premiership Cups at their
Mm,
at home base, but there really is only four left from some of those Premiership teams. They're very few. This is a brand new team. I mean, you've got players, some youngsters that are growing up with a
Mm.
little bit of the pressure of trying to keep the Crows name the where it is. You've got the Brooke Boylos, you've got the India Rashids who have come in who are brand new, they're
Yeah.
18, 19, 20 years old. They're still youngsters, super talented, but they don't have the experience of some of the players that they've lost. I mean, look at all of the people that have moved on, several that have moved over across town, several that have
Mm-hmm.
left. I
Mm-hmm.
know Montana McKinnon moved over to Richmond. She didn't get to play against her old side because of another ACL tear, but this is not the same Crows that we've had previous, like 4 years ago. This is a
No, no, it's not.
totally different team. And I think we're starting to see the Crows have come back to the pack a lot like
Mm.
as you kind of said, what I said off mic is that what North will eventually do when you see a
Yeah.
Carney, a Riddell, a Rennie, a
Yeah.
Kate Sheilor, once they start
Natural progression,
retiring,
right?
exactly, they'll come back to the pack a little bit. This is for me, this
Mm.
is the Crows showing that they are back with the pack a little bit. They aren't
Yeah.
in the same category that they were where they were with North, Melbourne, and Brisbane, where it was like you
Yeah.
knew those four
Yes.
with Adelaide. Those four were usually four of the best teams
That's
in the
all. Yeah.
competition. You're
Mm-hmm.
starting to see Melbourne kind of came back a little bit last year. They've jumped up a little bit, but they're
Mm.
still a little bit closer to the pack than I think the Brisbanes and the North Melbournes. So I'm they're going to go through some growing pains because of the infusion of youth. But some of the youth that they have, they're going to be fun to watch
Mm.
because they're
Well,
young
you
and
would
they're
know
super
watching the
talented.
Sandful, right? You'd
Yes,
see
the
it.
Sandful W. I saw Brooke Boylo play for South Adelaide. She was incredible. India Rashid playing for Sturt last year was one of the best in the entire competition. They have some incredibly great young South Australians. But
Mm.
now that we went to the national draft, you're starting to see some of them shift away. I know Elaine
Yeah.
Craig went to the Central Districts Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Grace Martin from Woodville West Torrens went to GWS. Holly Eifold is out with Fremantle. I know she's only played one game, but she was incredible for South Australia. And you're seeing some of these really
Mm.
good South Australians. They're now starting to
Move.
be diverted away from South Australia now to other teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people would say, well, it's horrible, but in the long run, all that talent now, it's making the competition better. Like, I know so many people complain about the academies when it comes to it, but the academy girls are not all going to be able to go onto one team. Like,
No, they're not
Gold
going to
Coast
stay
will
in this.
eventually
Yeah.
lose a top level academy girl to another team in the competition because they can't bring in everybody. It is
Absolutely.
impossible. So these academies will breed more success for the rest of the competition, just like right now what the Sanford W and the NAB League and
Mm.
the Coates League in Victoria are doing. They're bringing these superstar level talents to some of these clubs, and they're bringing their level up. So cannot wait. But no, I'm so happy for the Richmond Tigers girls and their supporters because they've
Mm.
had to deal with nearly a year's worth of no wins. I've
And it
dealt
is
with
hard.
that. Yep, yep, yep.
Mm.
So love it for Mon Conti. Love it for that team. Again, fantastic. Again, stunner of the year. Now we get to see how does Doc Clark and the LA Crows bounce back this upcoming week after that shocker. So let's go down to it. The Alphabet Soup Stadium of GMHBA Stadium as the Cats take on the Blues, and the
Mm.
Blues get an 18-point win. The Blues, for me, are the darlings of this particular season because I think a lot of people went into this year thinking,
Another season of, yeah,
another
the
season of
Blues.
we don't
Yeah.
know. And I
Mm.
knew Tara Bohanna was an interesting bring in. My only worry with that at the start of the year, my only worry was, are they too tall? And they've made it work. And I have to give my applause to Carlton because they've found a way to make a tall lineup. I will also say this, Brianne Harrington going back to her
Oh,
top level
yeah.
rucking and then being able to flip Jess Good in there absolutely has been incredible. You're seeing the McKay sisters both playing well. Sophie being an incredible addition. Mimi Hill goes for 30, I think 30 and a
Mm.
goal in this game.
She's,
Mimi Hill was fantastic. Their defenses played well. Seeing Darcy Vesio be able to go back and for them to have the impact back, even though they've been an
mm-hmm.
incredible forward for Carlton, has been great. Harriet Cordner has been an incredible key defender for them. So the Blues get it done by 18. Cats again snake bitten a little bit this year because they keep running into good footy teams. They're a really good team themselves,
Yeah, look, I
and
think it
so
was
happy to see Meg McDonald back. Sorry, I want to get that
no, yeah, and had a great game in my
in.
opinion. But no, look, I think look, I have been enjoying watching Carlton play football this year. Um, it's been a really interesting combination of players, and like you said, with Bessio going back, I think when you've played football for the same club for so long, to go into a different position is almost like reigniting probably a little bit of
Mhm.
spark, which I think you need, especially even if you love your team and you love the club and the game, it gives you a different aspect. And it'd be able to read the ball so well because you played forward for so long, right? So
Mhm.
there's this
Yep.
whole dynamic, which is amazing. But I think it's really interesting watching a tall team be so successful in that way because,
Mhm.
you know, it's not as easy as people think. They think, having tools is such a great advantage, which at times it is, but you need those small players as well. But they seem to just move the ball so well through the entire field together. And it's just working and it's been a joy to watch. With Geelong, on the other hand, Meg McDonald, it is so good to see her back. Nina Morrison's
Mhm.
just class, and the Irish players that they've got over there as well. Like it's really good.
Mhm.
Um, I wasn't expecting Carlton to win that convincingly, to be quite honest, but it was really cool to watch.
Yes, yeah, it was an incredible game, and the Irish flair in this game: Rachel Kearns, Kenny, Aaron
Yeah,
Fitzpatrick, Diana Finn. Man, I had Michael Kieran on, and he's the Irish recruiter. In fact, he told me he's 30 of the 39 girls that are playing in the AFLW. He
it's
has
amazing.
directly helped them get over there, and it as we joked in that particular episode. I really want a rep footy game between the
Hmm.
women of Ireland
And
versus the
Australia,
AFLW because I think it's going to be a
they would.
super and competitive
It'd
game.
be amazing.
As I said in that show, I said the only spot that I think the Irish are a little bit weak at is central midfield. Because
Hmm.
Aisling McCarthy at Fremantle, and then Tanya Kennedy, who's kind of a defensive midfielder for Sydney, they really don't have a lot of central center midfield players. They've got wide players. I mean, half the league's best wings are Irish players. Neve Kelly,
It's so funny you
Neve
say
Kelly,
that.
Ola O'Dwyer, Diana Finn, Aaron Fitzpatrick, both from Carlton. It is insane. And then you've got some great defenders. Jen Dunn at Brisbane, Erica O'Shea at North. You've got some incredible forwards. I mean, Anya McDonough, Aisling Maloney, Aileen Gilroy, Paris McCarthy. Him and I were joking. I said we could put together a team, and I think it'd be a damn good competitive game of football. So I will continue to say that if they can get a rep game between the
That'd be great.
AFLW players from that are from Ireland versus the women from Australia. I would pay to see, like if I could get down there to watch that game, I would because I think it'd be incredible to see the Irish versus Australia in a footy
It'd be
match.
an
Yeah, it would
absolute
be so
classic match.
incredible. So now that I've had my offshoot for this, let's finish up. Mineral Resources Park out in the West as Daisy's girls do it again, getting the win by 45, 62-17. The Collingwood Helter Skelter Jekyll and Hyde season
Mm.
continues, but I will say this: how awesome is it that Daisy Pierce, in less than 2 years, now has more wins than the entire coaching staffs of every single West Coast coaching staff previously? I love Daisy and what she is doing at West Coast. She is doing a fantastic job, and seeing how she's brought this young side together with incredible talents like Ella Roberts, Lucia Painter, Charlotte Thomas, Isabel Lewis. They are so much fun to watch, and they're the interstate club besides my own that I have to watch because they are
Yeah.
fascinatingly fun to watch play football. Getting a win, I felt bad for Collingwood because West Coast kind of jumped them and they just could never really recover.
No, it was it. And look, I loved Daisy as a commentator, but I think she's an amazing coach and
Mm,
was born to coach. And that's, you can tell. I mean, what she did in that first season, and now again, as you said, to be on the board at a club like that ahead of men's footy is such an achievement, and
mhm,
it shouldn't be taken lightly. Um, Collingwood are having a bit of a flat year, uh, even with Centra and some of their stalwart players. I just, yeah, I don't know what to say about them. I go between loving and hating how they're playing, and I know that's really polarizing, but
I will I
it's a frustrating team to watch.
agree. Well, I will say this too. They've been hammered by injury. Ruby Slicer cannot stay healthy,
Mm.
and that really
And
that
Bree Davy as well.
exactly. They cannot stay healthy. Like that's like if you look at like a few weeks ago when they played Sydney, they were pretty much full strength. They didn't have Bree Davy, but they were
Hmm.
pretty much full strength. Ruby Slicer was back. Lauren Butler has
Yeah.
now been back for a significant amount of time. Britt Benici again is playing incredible football. That does not shock me a bit. But Ruby Slicer was a laid out for this game, and that hurts
Mm.
because if you plan the entire year, you plan the entire game plan of Ruby's playing. Ruby's an incredible
Yeah,
player. And
absolutely.
going home back home to the West, I know she probably had family out there, and for her to be pulled late, them to have to bring in,
Yeah.
it's a deflator, and then you get the deflator, and then you go up against this young team that literally they are playing just free flowing fun football. Daisy is like I said, Daisy is letting these girls play. She's letting them let their natural
Mm.
talent out, and Collingwood just could not run with them. I'm not angry with Collingwood. They've been snake bitten the last 3 seasons. Like I can't
Mm.
be angry with them. Am I frustrated because sometimes I see them have games, like I said, they have games against Hawthorn where they're super competitive,
Hmm.
just fell a little bit short. They get the
Yeah.
win over Sydney again. Is Sydney a little bit of fool's gold a little bit at the start of the year with their 4-0 start? Have they kind of been exposed as maybe not as
Mm.
good this year with their 4 game losing streak? But this is a Collingwood team when they play their best and when they're healthy, they're super competitive, super tough. They've got some incredible players, but again, they've been snake bitten by injury. And again, I know injury is an excuse that all these teams have injuries, but when you lose your one of your best midfielders in Ruby Slicer before the game even starts, it's a difficult pill to swallow right off the bat because it really flattens the entire group because oh no, okay, Ruby's not playing. There's one of our best already out. So I don't know. And then Ella Roberts is just absolutely incredible and absolutely
Yeah.
tore the game
And
to shreds. That isn't helping either.
not only is your best out, you're also traveling, right?
Yep.
And then you've got to switch that game plan, and you've got to try and figure out who's doing what. And like, it's it's hard when you do have such a competent player like Ruby. She knows the game extremely well. I
Mhm.
think the advantage is, like you said, West Coast are having fun football. They're in their domain. When you're playing over there and you're so far away from everyone else, you probably just, what have you got to lose? You know,
Mhm.
this is your time. And they're a young team, so they know that they're building.
Yep.
So that different, I guess, playing for different reasons.
Yep. No, I'm 100% with you. So well, that is it. I love that. 9 games up, 9 games down. Let's go to the next section of the podcast. We go to
All
burning
right, let's do
questions.
it.
You're going to
All
see a
right.
little bit of a theme for both my first two questions here, just
Okay.
because I think again it's the one topic off this round I think everybody's going to talk about. So I want you to put your fan hat on here, Sasha.
Okay. I
Are
can do that. I can do
upsets
that.
like this Richmond win over Adelaide good for the competition?
Yes, I actually think they're fantastic for the comp. Look, I think unpredictability keeps fans engaged because even if, I mean, for me, if we were winning every single week, amazing, but also you want a competitive game, right?
Hmm.
And I think, yeah, those big turnovers are huge, but yes, they're fantastic. And I think they need to be teams down here challenging the teams up here. So
Hmm.
yeah.
I have a fellow footy podcaster up here, Craig, the Yank on the Footy podcast, and he said this about the men's competition, and I've echoed this, and I completely agree. He wants his team to win, and he wants 8 competitive games. And
Hmm.
I've always loved that thought process because I'm the same thing. But the one thing that I will say and will continue to say is I hate blowouts. I hate blowouts. I think that they're the worst possible thing for the competition. But parity is another that when you
Mm,
go into a game and you know you're going to lose, it's one of the most deflating things in the world. But when you go into a game and there's that thought process of anything's possible, that is incredible for the competition because when you have tippers that can go through most of the season missing one around,
mm,
that's not good because then that means your product is predictable. When you
hmm.
have rounds like a couple of weeks ago, I think I got 4 out of 9 right because it seemed like every upset that possibly can happen happened,
Yes, yeah.
and I didn't call any of them. Sometimes I've gotten lucky. I've called a few. I've called a few this year.
Yeah.
Um, so I love it. It is incredibly good for the parity of the competition. It's showing that the youth and the youngsters that are coming
Mm,
through are making an impact on this league and they are changing results. So that is nothing but good. So 100% with you on that.
yeah, no,
I
I
know
agree. I think
I
that's
know
a really good point.
Crow supporters may not 100% agree, but sometimes when you're one of the top of the level teams, sometimes you got to be knocked down a couple of pegs
You do.
when it comes to it. So, and then we'll go to it. Like I said, the theme is here was the Tigers upset of the Crows, the upset of the year so far because one of the other ones was also the same Crows teams when the Saints knocked them off in round one.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game up till this point, definitely biggest upset. I predict there'll be at least one more before the end of the official season before finals.
Agree.
I think that it will be a team. All right, look, without being a bit dark about it, I think it needs to be a team to knock North Melbourne out of just for one round. If it's the Gold Coast, I'll be a happy woman. But I think there'll be another one. I think, like you said, it was a really great point. Is there's all this talent, and when you lock it in all together on one game day and it all works well, that's when you hit. And I think it'll happen again. But yeah,
Mhm.
for now, I think the Richmond win is bigger than the other one.
Yeah, I think it's also because the fact that Richmond had zero
No
wins.
wins.
They
Yeah.
had no wins, and you have an Adelaide Crows team that everybody was talking about. It's a top four side,
Mm.
has a chance to be in that Premiership window still.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's really the reason why St. Kilda. I kind of knew St. Kilda had a chance to be good. They've just been very in darn consistent. I think they've been a team that has never. For me, they haven't shown the talent hasn't shown its class as much as other teams. So for me,
Mm,
that was one of those where it was like, that didn't surprise me. Because St. Kilda has beaten some teams that they probably shouldn't have over these last few seasons. So, but Richmond, because they've just been so down, they've been so snake bitten, injury
mm.
ridden, or just they've had bad luck. For them to pull this one off against the Crows team, who I think had been playing some pretty good football going into that game, yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
it is a no doubter upset of the year because it is just so much more of a shocker that an a 0 win Richmond team beats a team that people were talking about being in the Premiership window. That is a
Yeah.
stunner. So we'll move on. As we
All
always
right.
do in burning questions, the third question is always about my
Mm-hmm.
co-host and what their club is. And
Okay.
Sasha's a huge Gold Coast supporter. And you
I
want to know what?
am.
I love that about her because it is not easy to grab onto a new club, especially when sometimes you got to deal with the lows. I know people over here in the States wear brown paper bags when their teams lose as much as some of these new teams sometimes can do it. So,
Mm-hmm.
as the Suns fan, Sash,
Mm.
I know this has been a tough year, but we've seen some of the great young talent that I think are growing with Havana Harris, with Nevit, with some of the youngsters that you have. Do you think the Suns' future is bright?
Yes. Yeah, I actually do. And it's interesting. People would assume that I've only started like loving football since they started, but it's a whole long thing. But being a supporter of this team, originally with the men's first, but always hoping that there would be a women's side and amazing. So there's a couple of things that I really love about the Suns. First one, they're one of the few women's teams that get to play on the same ground that the men do in season.
Hmm.
So there's only a few clubs that get to do that. So I think that's, that to me is parity in another way. Um, the academy, and we've spoken about it earlier, the academy has set up such an amazing, I guess, tier system of players that are filtering through. And like you said, at some point that's going to sort of wash out a bit and they'll go elsewhere. But for now, the talent is staying in the state and it's showing. And, we've got really lucky. And even, a few draft picks ago when we got, I'm going to forget her name now, but she's in a different team. Number one draft pick, come on, a few years ago, by Hannah.
Hmm.
So by Hannah, has moved on. But that to me, that started showing, okay, look at the talent that's coming through. Yeah, you got Rowbottom. Yes, injured at the moment, but again, one of the best players I've seen on our team.
Hmm.
Havana Harris, number 2 draft pick. So, look, I think it's all about perseverance, and that's when your team loses or you don't have as much success as others, like long-term teams, you just look at those little sparks, which is what I'm trying to do. And I think, as you said, well, now you've given me that little hot bit of information that the draft pick coming up might be,
Hmm.
again, hoping she'll stay in the Suns region. But I think there's a lot to say for what's happening up in the Gold Coast. And I think it'll be a bit more of a draw card for Victorian draft players too, especially through that Coates League. So,
100% with you. And the fact that Charlie Rowbottom is a Victorian and
mm,
she nominated Gold Coast when they still had the state-based draft. So again, it shows there's something that they could draw an elite level talent out of Victoria and up to Gold Coast again. The building blocks are there. I think the Gold Coast have done really, really well with it. Again, they've
mm.
they've dealt with some pain, and again, I think that ultimate cash out is coming very, very soon
I
for
do.
the
I think
Gold Coast
also
Saints.
having the men experience a very similar start, and having them
Yep.
around and then they get to finals. So you can start to see the entire club get around it. Yeah, it's a special
Mhm.
thing to watch.
No, 100% with you. So, all right. So that is it for burning questions. We move on where I
All
take
right.
over the podcast just the tiniest bit, but this is some fun. I do this. I
All
give
right.
myself a little bit of homework each week. I do team of the week and then power
Mm-hmm.
rankings, which is my homage to the original part of the
Mm-hmm.
podcast, Fourth
All
and
right.
Long. He loved to do power rankings. So each week after we've played 5 games, I do team of the week. I do power rankings. So with team of the week, I do a little bit more leaning on goals and goals assists. So sometimes we're gonna have some weird names. So, but
All
as a
right.
fellow coach, Sasha, I want to hear what you think of this team that I've put together of
Let's
some of the
do it.
best performers from round 8. So starting on the fullback line again, as coaches, we know defense wins championships.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start off in the fullback line. Emily Everest of the Hawthorn Hawks and Amelia Verlado of the Carlton Blues round out our fullback line. Along the halfback line, the sensation that is Zippy Fish of the Sydney Swans, Grace Kelly of the Adelaide Crows kicking a goal, and disposal machine Meave Chaplin of the Melbourne Demons round out the halfback line. In the center, we have Lauren Wakefer as the ruck from the West Coast Eagles. On the wings, out wide, Sophie Cunningham of the Brisbane Lions and Riley Wilcox of the Western Bulldogs will round out our wings. In the center, we have Jamie Lambert, the experienced veteran midfielder of the St. Kilda Saints. Jazzy Garner kicks 4 goals. I mean, I can't not have her in the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 goals by Ellie McKenzie of the Richmond Tigers round out the center midfield. What an incredible trio that is. We go to the half forward line. We see excitement machine Courtney Hotta of the Brisbane Lions, Carlton's Erone Fitzpatrick, along and Indy Tahu of the Port Adelaide Power round out the half forward line. Full forward line, the Irish superstar Aisling Maloney of the Geelong Cats, and Brisbane's Taylor Smith round out the starting lineup for this particular team. On my bench, I have defender, midfielder, rock forward, and then a utility player of my choosing. Along the defensive line, so great to see her back, Maddie Gay of the Essendon Bombers. In the center, Mimi Hill. We didn't forget you, Mimi. Mimi is my midfielder. My ruck is Ali Morfitt of the Sydney Swans. Yes, you play North, but I thought Ali was very good on the ruck position. Taylor Harris is my forward of the Melbourne Demons, and my utility. What a utility this young lady is. Ella Roberts of the West Coast Eagles. Round out Coach Hess's team of the week. I know a lot of names really quickly. Your thoughts on this round eight's team of the week?
Powerhouse team. I mean, and it's a little bit of everything.
Yep,
But I like you've got a few of the really young guns, and then you go with the Taylor Harris,
yep,
just rounding it off. Um, One that I really did like, yeah, was what'd you say? Did you put Ellie McKenzie in that one?
yep. Ellie
Yeah,
McKenzie,
yeah.
Jazz Garner, and Jamie Lambert was the center
That's it. Yeah,
midfield, and you
that's
have
me. My
two
goodness. Be
goals, four
raining
goals, three
goals.
goals. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. There was 9 goals between the three of them. Yeah, Jazzy kind of improved the average for that on that one. So no, she was fantastic. Lauren Wakeford had kicked 2 goals for the Rock for West Coast. She's
Yeah,
actually
that's
really started to
beautiful.
grow up. I think she was a little bit listless a little bit that first season just because she's coming back from the ACL tear and it took her a while to get
Mm,
comfortable. She's starting to kind of show why she was a high draft pick in her particular year, and then having her twin sister Zoe as a kind of a fullback and
mm.
halfback flanker has she's been incredible with this. But I mean, Courtney Hodder, how incredible! She had like a 3 minute span. She kicked 3 goals. It was absolutely
Having
nuts.
an absolute season
Yep,
this year,
yep,
and not just like just mid forward, like just burning through.
yep,
Yeah, really, for someone so seasoned, having such a standout
yep,
like
yep.
season is awesome.
Yeah, and then go to the bench. Maddie Gay, so happy to see her back. I was terrified that we lost her for the year after
I
that
know.
preseason game, and for her to come back, she has 21, looked incredible. Great to have Maddie back again. I think the Bombers have really been missing her as that kind of helper off that
Mm,
halfback line
her
and
and
the
Bonnie
distributor.
together, yeah.
Yes, so it's great to have her back. And then again, like I said, the utility of the year is Ella Roberts. I mean, she's just been absolutely incredible what she's doing. Like I said, I think she bodes well in the best and fairest votes because she's
Yeah, I
so
think,
hard not to see, and I think umpires are going to love her. I think her and Kate Hoare right now are my favorites when it comes
yeah,
to the BNF. Like I think the North Melbourne superstars are going to take votes off each other. I mean, Riddell gets 44, Jazz kicks 6. It's like
yeah,
who gets the 3?
yeah, I know,
so,
right?
so it's like I worry. It's like I said,
Carney on a bad day.
it's a little bit like the men with Marcus Bontempelli. I think I don't think Marcus
Mm,
Bontempelli will ever win a Brownlow because he's always got a Trelaw, a Dimma,
hmm.
some of the Libba and some of
Yeah.
the superstars that he has around. I just don't see him ever winning it because there's so many guys that are going to take votes off him. I think that's the same issue that Riddell and Garner have a little bit is
Hmm.
they're going to take votes off each other, and then you get a day when Blaine Blow goes nuts and kicks 6 and different things like that. So
Oh,
when
absolutely.
when you have a superstar team, it's really hard to get an individual award in that situation because of the way the votes are done. So let's move to the power rankings. As I said, I tend to do forms. The last 5 games, how many wins in a row do you have? And then how many losses? So we'll start off this be interesting to see what you think of this. At 5, the Brisbane
Hmm.
Lions. At 4, the Hawthorn Hawks. At 3, the Melbourne Demons. At 2, the St. Kilda Saints. And at 1, as I said, I think they're going to start gathering dust up there. The North Melbourne Kangaroos round out the power rankings for this particular round again. Unless North gets challenged, I think the one spot is pretty much going to be cemented. It's 2 through 5 are going to be the rotators
Yeah.
for
Yeah. Well,
their,
Carlton sitting fifth at the moment.
yeah.
I think that's one to watch too.
Yeah, they just hopped out because of a
Yeah.
loss a couple rounds ago, and Brisbane's been playing. But Carlton, I think next would not be surprised next round if Carlton's back in the
Yeah. Look,
top 5. So we always end the show tipping the next round. I know we're still early in the week. We're
that's all
recording on
right.
a
That's
Monday
okay.
evening in Melbourne and a nice early Monday morning for yours truly up here in lovely Des Moines, up here in lovely Iowa, up here in the States. So let's hop to it. Friday night footy. We will start off Western Bulldogs, Essendon Bombers. This is an intriguing matchup to start Pride round at Whitten
I
Oval. Who do you
know, Pride
like?
round. So it's one of my obviously favorite rounds, but what an interesting opening game. And I'm going Bulldogs.
Well, we're thinking alike. We're thinking alike because I have the doggies too. I like their momentum. Being at home at the Whitten Oval, they tend to
Mm,
play the Whitten Oval really well. I love, like I said, I love the re-addition of Matty Gay back into this team. There's just still something missing with this group of Essendon
yeah,
again, and they're fighting injury. I know that they've lost a few of their younger players, so I like the Duggies in this one. I am with you on that one.
it's
Hey,
um it's a special kind of game at Whitten for Pride too. I will say I've been to a few there, and it's special.
yes, they do it very, very well at Whitten Oval. So a fun one for our Saturday afternoon slate, a good one at Norwood Oval. Cannot wait for this one. Adelaide Crows, West Coast Eagles. Can the Eagles
Mm.
pull the upset at Norwood, or does Adelaide bounce back from a disastrous loss against the Tigers?
Oh, look, as much as I would love Daisy to have another win, I think Crows will win by 30 plus. Just Norwood's it's such a strong, it's their home, they love it.
Yeah, no, they play Norwood really well. Like I said,
Mm.
seeing Noffy versus Ella Roberts, man, that's gonna be
It's
mouthful.
exciting game.
Yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be so much fun. I just think the Crows have a little too much experience. I know that they've gotten a little younger with some of it, but this is a very young, very whippersnapper, young, talented West Coast team. Adelaide, some grizzled veterans on this team. I think the
Yes.
grizzled veterans do just a little bit more, especially on an afternoon in Adelaide. So I think I'll tip the Crows in this one, but rip snorting game at 9:05
I
my time.
know.
Cannot wait for this one. We jumped, like I said, Alphabet Stadium, GMHBA Stadium, as the Cats host the Giants coming down from Sydney. I like the Cats in this one. I think the Cats just a little bit too much experience. The Giants, again, they've been a little bit Jekyll and Hyde
Mm.
for me. I like the defense. I think the midfield's going to give the Giants headaches. I like the Cats in this one.
Yeah, look, I think the Cats won't go two in a row and at home as well. I think they don't really have any injuries or anything too predominant at the moment as well. So I think, yeah, Cats for me.
Yeah, fun one. Let's go. Kinetic Stadium in Frankston. Cannot wait. Always such a great visual. And if it's nice enough, we get to see the ocean in the background as the Hawks take on your beloved Suns. I will ask this. Are you going to be able to get to Kinetic Stadium in Frankston to watch your club play in live?
No, I'll be in regional Victoria working, but I will definitely have it on the car radio when I'm driving there. And I was really looking forward to going with Fee actually, but I really think, yeah, Hawks are probably going to win. I don't want to bet against my own team, so I will always tip Gold Coast, but yeah, Hawks. They
I'm
know the
gonna
place.
I'm gonna tip the Hawks. Again, the Suns are still growing. Again,
Hmm.
they're fighting injury too. I think the Hawks just a little this bit too good, but this is always the one. If you're the Hawks, do not take Gold Coast lightly because they have weapons. They have some people that can hurt you. If they take even an iota off, Gold Coast could jump all over it. So I'm one of those tipping Hawks, but thinking if the Hawks take the Suns lightly, this could be quite the interesting game for them. We'll jump up to Queensland, Brighton Homes Arena as the Lions host the Port Adelaide Power. As much as I'd love the Power to pull a fun one here, make things interesting,
Mm,
the Lions just a little less bit too good. I think the Lions are starting to find their groove. They tend to do this every year, right around about
mm.
3 rounds before the season starts. They kick it into gear that some teams just don't have.
No, you're right, and I agree with you. I think Lions, and you know what? Everyone in Brisbane is winning something this week, Donny. So I think,
I know.
like they don't want to be the ones left out.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, I would hate to be Port Adelaide flying into Brisbane this week, to be honest with you. It's a tough crowd when every single team of elite football is winning something.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw a few people online go, okay, does this mean the Brisbane Lion women are going to upset North in the grand final?
Well,
Just to
watch this
keep it going.
space. After
We'll have
watching the NRL last night, the W,
yeah.
yeah, wow.
Yep, no, it'll be interesting. Again, I think Port will be
I don't think it's going to
competitive.
be an easy game, don't
No,
get me
no, no,
wrong,
no,
but
no, no. Port's got some talent. They'll be competitive. I
mm,
think Brisbane, like I said, it's their class and experience that'll be just a little bit too
yeah,
much for,
absolutely.
again, a little bit like Adelaide and West Coast. I think you have the super talented young side versus the grizzled
Mm,
veteran experienced talented team. being at home with both of them, you got to go with the
Yeah.
home team a little bit, just the travel and everything like that. So
Oh, definitely.
Icon Park, Richmond Tigers, North Melbourne. As much as I would love to be able to tip Richmond and just to completely throw a spanner in the works here,
Mm,
North just too good. They will not make the same mistake that Adelaide made. I think North win this one, and they could win this one big.
yeah, I agree. It's not far to travel a couple Ks down the road. You know, Richmond obviously will be very confident going in. They'll be feeling like they can conquer the world, which is what you want. And I really hope, you know, as your other footy mate says, competitive footy, you want those
Yeah.
games. And I hope we see that. I just don't think it will be as competitive as Richmond would like.
Yeah, unfortunately, on that one, we jump up Henson Park, Sydney Swans versus Carlton. This is going to be a cracking game because Sydney need a win.
Mm-hmm.
Carlton looking fantastic, trying to solidify themselves fully in the finals. I think the hill is going to be filled with red and white. But unfortunately, I think Carlton's playing too good a footy, and I worry that Sydney still hasn't found what they had in those first four rounds. I think the Blues come up and pull the upset. As much as everybody's like, "How can you tip against the Swans?" I've said this on a few of my episodes. I do this
Mm.
almost strategically because I know it's a zero loss situation. Because if I tip Carlton and they win, I get the tip right. If I
Ooh,
tip Carlton and they lose, my team wins. So it's a
yeah.
no lose situation.
Um, I genuinely am on the fence about this one. So I'm thinking it's going to be 3 points either side, and I cannot decide who.
Mhm.
So for you, Donny, I'm going to go Swans by 3.
Like I said, I sure hope you're right because I think the Swans really need it. Again, this could be the perfect time to get a home
I think
game.
they're very evenly matched at the
Yeah,
moment.
oh, I
So,
completely agree. The Brienne Harrington, Ali Morfitt through the
mm,
center is going to be so
great
much
match.
fun. You're seeing Laura Gardner, Tanya Kennedy, Monham versus Mimi Hill, Abby McKay,
Mm,
and the wing battle. Sophia Hurley out there with either Deanna Finn or Rowan Fitzpatrick through the center. I mean, there are fun matchups everywhere. Tara Bohanna versus Brianna Tarrant, Harriet Cordner versus Chloe Malloy. I cannot wait for that, and that is a perfect 9:05 start time for me over here in the
amazing.
States. It's going to be an incredibly good, fun game of footy to watch. Cannot wait. So, like I said, I hope you're right when it comes to the tipping, but we will see. So, back down to
Right.
Victoria and Melbourne and RSEA Park as the St. Kilda Saints host Collingwood. This is a fascinating one. I bounce back and forth. Who
Mm,
do you like in this one?
I'm going to go Saints. I just don't have faith in Collingwood at the moment. And you know, like they've got some amazing players, but there's just something, like I said earlier, it just doesn't match up, and they're frustrating because they do have so much talent, and I feel like they just need to have a bit more of a move around on the field, move some magnets in some different spots, and have a crack. Um, you
Yep.
know, put Sabrina in the back,
Yep.
absolute unit. I think
Yeah.
she'd do so well in defence, but
Yep. Yeah. I'm with you on this. I got the Saints on this one. I think the Saints are just playing a little bit more consistently than
mm,
Collingwood. Not that the Saints have been super consistent this year. They've had some rough patches, but I think St. Kilda more consistent, healthier. They got some absolute guns. Patrikios, Tanya Smith, Jamie
mm,
Lambert through the center. Collingwood again. I think Ash Centra, I like how they've handled Ash. They haven't just thrown her into the midfield and thrown her to the Wolves. They've kind of
hmm,
picked their spots to chuck her into the center, let her kind of play a little bit forward. She learns a little bit of
yeah,
craft there too. I think in the long run, it will help her development that she's keeping some confidence by kicking goals and then having those little moments where she goes through the midfield to show her class and why she was one of the top kids in her particular draft class. So I'm with you. Got the Saints in this one at RSEA Park again, but Collingwood, you never know. They pull some,
no, look,
they
and
pull
I
one.
reckon it'll, yeah,
Yep, yep. And then last but not least, let's go out west. Fremantle Oval. Fun one here. Fremantle versus the Melbourne Demons. I like this matchup. I'm going to tip the D's, but Dockers at home, you never know.
yeah, I'm going to go Dockers because I think they've just had such a tough run of it. Um, I also think they are definitely keen for a win, and I think a lot of people will write them off because of the form Melbourne are in. And I think Kate Hall will do her very best. Taylor, if they've got their full team, which I mean, we hear bits and pieces on Monday, but they're never really nailed in till later in the week. But I'd love to see Freo get a win this time around.
No, I'm. It would definitely throw a few spanners in the works if that does happen, and it'd be absolutely amazing to do that. So, well, Sash, that is it. That is all 9 games done. An incredible conversation again. One of the things that I love about all of the ladies of Chicks Talking Footy, incredibly knowledgeable about the game, incredibly engaging. It's always so much fun. I had Fee on for round 24. Like I said, I absolutely love you ladies to death. I missed the podcast. I know you were telling me a
Oh,
little bit off the air. This
yeah,
has been a
yeah.
little bit difficult for you ladies because of time frame and some things with Joy again. But I said it to Fee when I cannot wait for the podcast to be back because the conversations were so much fun because not only did you approach it with incredible good footy knowledge, but you had this endearing ability to just be great friends with great banter. Absolutely love it. You guys had so much fun. It's such a fun podcast for me to listen to up here. So I cannot wait for it to return when it does. Like I said, you have a subscriber. I always listen to the show whenever it's on. I've told Fee that many times. I said,
That's so
I
good.
may be the long distance fan from so long before,
We
but again,
love that though.
I love what you ladies do. It's so much fun. Like I said, I cannot wait for the podcast to be back. So, like I said, when it is back, I told Fee, let me know because I've got it on my automatic downloads and my on my podcast. I will listen and enjoy the great footy banter that is Chicks Talking Footy.
No, well, look, like I said, I love catching up with you and being able to talk footy when I can't with the ladies on air. We certainly still do it off air. And when we get together, we say, why are we not doing this? And, I was always a late comer to Chicks Talking Footy, but I feel so privileged that I am a part of it now. And I look
Mhm.
forward to, yeah, hopefully next year we'll be up and about for the men's season and we'll be able to get everyone listening again.
Fantastic. Cannot wait. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for another episode of Donnie's Disposals. Again, if you like what this old American does when it comes to covering the footy every way possible, despite the huge distance and gap, please like and subscribe. And just know that we will be back with more footy coverage very, very soon.